This is Shelley Kraft coming to you live on SNN Live. We're coming to you from the Planet MicroCap Showcase 2019 here in Las Vegas. I have with me today Bernie Hertel of Emerald Bioscience. It's a publicly traded company and the symbol is EMBI. Bernie, welcome to SNN Live.
Shelley, thank you very much for having me.
Good to have you. So let's get started with a brief overview of the company.
So Emerald Bioscience is a very exciting company in terms of its role it can potentially play in the world of cannabis and cannabinoids. Technically, it's not actually a cannabis company, but the technology it's working with has taken the native cannabis molecule or a cannabinoid molecule called THC, which many people have heard of, obviously, and modified it in order to enhance the ability to get that into the body and to have it perform its useful function, which in this case is for glaucoma.
So what's some of the history behind the development of this?
In the United States, where cannabis is federally illegal, although we all know that there's been progression in the states as far as legalization, the only licensed entity that's allowed to grow cannabis is the University of Mississippi. That goes back many decades, and they were granted that license in order to grow cannabis, in order to then conduct research. And this technology is based on work they've been doing over a long period of time.
What's unique about it?
So, we know about many different medicinal benefits, anecdotally, of cannabis and specifically of THC or CBD for different conditions. And in fact, there's been a lot of recognition that there is potentially medicinal benefit or values of THC, for example, against glaucoma, against eye diseases. The problem is that if you were to use cannabis systemically, meaning you might smoke it, for example, to try to use it as a medicine, the active time of THC in the body is only about 60 to 90 minutes. So if you were to use that as a medicine and wanted a longer lasting effect, you'd basically be smoking joints all day and you'd be stoned all the time. That's not a very good medicine. So the idea here is, can you apply it locally? Can you advance the technology in a way that will allow it to be applied locally, for example in the eye specifically, in order for it to provide its useful function?
That's a very large market to my understanding. Is that not true?
The glaucoma market is about $6 billion a year internationally.
And the standard of care now is what?
There's a product called latanoprost, and interestingly, we just reported data just a number of weeks ago in which this product of Bioscience, based on THC, was compared to latanoprost in a head-to-head study in rabbits. And what they were looking to assess was the ability for those drugs to drop intraocular pressure. Intraocular pressure that increases starts to kill cells, and that's one of the root causes of glaucoma. And in this particular head-to-head study, Bioscience's drug actually surpassed latanoprost in terms of reducing intraocular pressure. All of the existing drugs out there have some degree of being able to lower intraocular pressure. None of them have the ability to actually protect the nerves and protect against nerve damage. So that would be an advantage of this particular drug.
So tell me about the management team.
So Dr. Brian Murphy is an accomplished biotechnology executive. He was with companies called Eiger, he was with Intermune. At one point earlier on, he was with Hoffman LaRoche. He's been involved in roles in running clinical studies, being a chief medical officer, and running programs for a long time. His educational background goes back to Harvard and as well as Columbia University. And he also has a really great sense of humor. So he's an enjoyable individual to be around, apart from being very smart. And our CFO was at Kaiser Permanente.
So you're a public company. Only tell me what you can tell me about growth drivers.
So Bioscience is on a path right now where it's completing its preclinical work with the goal of being able to step into the clinic by the end of 2019. There are some different animal studies and data that are coming out of them that will be reported intermittently. An example was what I just talked about with latanoprost and that study in rabbits. And that can be meaningful in terms of creating some believability and some excitement around what they're actually doing. So that's coming up during the course of this year. And then of course, with the interesting thing about that particular study is that you can use patients as their own control because you have two eyes. And so you can use the product in one eye and not in the other eye, and you can get some interesting comparative data. So after that, they would then be, of course, heading towards phase 2.
Bernie, let's get your website out there for our audience, if you would.
So the website address, the URL is emeraldbio.life.
Ladies and gentlemen, Bernie Hertel, Emerald Bioscience, publicly traded company, and the symbol is EMBI. I'm Shelley Kraft. This is SNN.Live, coming to you live from the Planet MicroCap Showcase 2019, right here in Las Vegas. Bernie, always good to see you.
Thank you, Shelley. Appreciate your time.
You're welcome.